Hi, my name is Jeremy Grandstaff, and I'm a strategic planning and collaboration consultant that is facilitating the Global Engagement Network Strategy Summit. The summit is a series of 4 virtual meetings designed to help participants from GEN come together to create a community-driven strategic plan, the necessary action plans, and structure needed to succeed with our strategy. This video recaps what happened at the first meeting, which was conducted on June 26th. We encourage you to take a look at what happened and to register so that you can be part of these conversations. So we'll join the video now, looking at what happened at the first conference with the welcome from Gen Leadership and myself.
All right, folks, good evening. My name is Jeremy Grandstaff. I am a strategic planning and collaboration consultant, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you today, starting the Global Engagement Network Strategy and Structure Summit. We're really excited to be here today, and before I jump us into facilitating where we're heading, I wanted to take a moment to just give Ryan and Laura, who are two volunteers and part of the leadership for the Global Engagement Network, to just welcome you all. So I'll turn it over to Ryan and then Laura, and then I'll come back on. So Ryan?
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm really excited that you're all here today to help us kick off the important steps of planning our strategic conversation for the Global Engagement Network. Thanks to John Ellis, we've all been engaged at various levels, from volunteers to leadership team members and viewers. And today we have the opportunity to build on our great work so far and begin to create a strategy and solid structure to guide GEN over the next 3 to 5 years. This process is really important to me, and GEN is really important to me because we have the opportunity to make history here. We've seen what happens when we rely on mainstream media with all its big money interests shoveling their agendas at us through our TVs. And it's time for us to stand up for what's right and bring people the truth free of private motives. It's time for us to talk to our brothers and sisters across the globe, and only then can we really begin to understand the struggles and issues that affect one another. We have a real opportunity to expand our definition of community to a global level. But how did we specifically get here today? Well, that's thanks to the vision of our design team, who, with John Ellis' support, is leading us through this strategy and structure summit. I want to take a moment to thank them and to thank John, for it is all of the team's leadership that has helped us get to today's conversation. And now I'm going to turn it over to Laura to talk more about that.
Thank you, Ryan. I am so excited that everyone is here today, because I know that your collective energy, wisdom, and feedback are going to give us the potential to create an extremely strong plan for GEN, and that's why we're here. The reason I'm committed to GEN personally is that I believe establishment media has failed us utterly, and that the revolution must have strong independent media networks that represent the 99%. That address our true issues and concerns as honestly and intelligently and transparently as possible. So those of us who are natural communicators and community builders with a desire for finding the truth and then sharing it in a compelling manner, people like that can find a home in an organization like this, and that's why we're here. So it's said that you need 6 kinds of people to have a successful revolution. 1, you need activists who bring people together and keep them engaged. 2, you need intellectuals who understand the landscape and can explain it to us and keep us on track. 3, you need artists to communicate our messages and inspire us with music and pictures and words and keep us going. We need insiders to keep us informed about what's going on, behind the scenes, so that we can have a little bit of a jump on the news cycle. We need engaged elites who will use their influence, whether it's their wealth or their fame or their political connections or whatever, to further our cause because they believe in it. And the sixth thing is, and most importantly, it's the masses. It's pulling all the people together, and it's building communities just like we're building today, and that's why we're here. So we are here for a series of meetings, 4 in total, that will help us achieve our purposes and our outcomes.
The purpose statement for the Global Engagement Network Summit is to build a brighter understanding of opportunities, barriers, expertise, and partnership needed to best establish and grow the Global Engagement Network, to energize the network, key stakeholders, community, volunteers as a whole around an inspiring vision of what the Global Engagement Network's potential is. And number 3, to gain consensus on the future of the Global Engagement Network with a concrete action plan, recommended structure, and a clear roadmap for a multi-year strategic plan to increase media for a changing and growing world. I'm excited to be here to help you in facilitating that. Figuring out the strategy for Gen and where it goes and how it's going to get there, more importantly, looking at action plans that are going to help us succeed. Those are going to be the key pieces that can really drive this organization to become and to transform more from a volunteer type of basis to something that can really grow and take form. And so it's really exciting to be here and help you with that. John, if you're able to get the second page of the agenda up, what I'm going to do is just briefly talk about tonight's meeting and how it fits into the context of where we're heading, and then I'll move to the rules of group work, because we're going to be doing a lot of small group work in order to engage you guys in this conversation. So over the next 4 meetings, we're going to start this evening by creating an opportunity for you guys to start talking about the Global Engagement Network. What's working, what's not working, what do we see when we think about how we can grow the organization to better serve the needs of the public and volunteers and everybody that's engaged in it. So it'll be an opportunity for you to get to know people who have come to the summit. If you will, it's your round of introductions, but it's more than intros. It's really about bringing you together and really helping to begin that strategic conversation. At meeting 2, we'll dig further into what we call that high-level strategic view of Gen. And so we'll be hearing from John Ellis, who will talk a little bit about his vision for the network and really where it can go. And then you guys as participants, you'll get the opportunity to take a look at a rough draft strategy that the leadership has been putting together and to really give the feedback that they need to be able to take that strategy to the next level. And so the concept is that when we finish meeting 2, we're going to have some consensus around the strategic vision for the network, including mission, vision, goals, values, or principles that guide us as Gen. In meeting 3, we're going to come back then and really take that down into specifics and start to get more specific with action plans. So for each of our goals that we've settled on in meeting 2, we'll then create an action plan, and when we leave that meeting in meeting 3, we'll start to prioritize that action and really look at how can we have this solid, measurable, prioritized strategic plan that we'll then come to agreement on in meeting 4. So it is a 4-meeting series. If you weren't able to make it tonight and you're listening to this after the fact, we still want you to come to the future meetings. If you're here tonight, I'm telling you, you're going to want to come back so that you can feel like you've been able to really finish the planning process and really engage and share your wisdom and feedback that each of you have in this conversation. This is not one of those conference calls that you just sit back and listen to, by the way. So, John, I'm going to ask you to move down to our rules of group work document. We, as a team, are going to break into small groups, have discussions, and come back and theme those discussions and really work to build consensus among the whole group. And in order to do that, that means you've got to engage. So if you need to go to the bathroom, please go to the bathroom. If you need to grab a coffee or grab a beverage of your choice, please make sure you do that. But know that when you're not paying attention to the conversation or engaging in the dialogue that we're having, we don't get the wisdom that you guys bring to the table. And that's what this is all about, is taking that leadership's view and saying to you as participants, do we got it? And if so, how do we make it better? And so there's some rules of group work that we'll use. When you're scribing, you may choose to play the scribe for your group. You'll actually be able to do that in a way that lets you write in the document that's on your screen. And so if you're scribing, for example, you want to make sure that you have access to that document and that you can scribe for your group. Remember, when you're scribing for your smaller group, it's not so important that you spell correctly, but it is important that you capture their ideas and not what you think they're saying. So if you've got someone in your group who talks in really big paragraphs, which is fine, it's totally okay to say, great idea, can you help me summarize that in a bullet point? And then you can easily get that down for your group. We're going to do our best to make sure that each group has a scribe, but if for some reason nobody in your group has access to be able to scribe for your group, I'm going to make sure to remind you at that time to let us know, and we'll make sure we get someone in there to try to help you, or we'll move groups around in some way. At times, some of you may play the role of the facilitator. The facilitator really helps a group stay on task. So if I break you into small groups, we're going to ask you to talk about 2 or 3 different questions. Make sure if you're facilitating your group that you guys are really focusing on those questions, so that when we come back together, all the groups have had the conversations we need to have in order to really come back together and create some strong consensus around where we're heading. There's some other stuff on here about brainstorming. Remember, in the rules of brainstorming, it's always okay to accept more than one idea. It is actually encouraged that we not judge each other's ideas. It's also encouraged that we give the space for people to piggyback off of other ideas, or even some silence sometimes, in order to make sure that we've got all those great ideas out there. The biggest rule of brainstorming that we want to pay attention to is that we want to get all the ideas on the table before we start talking about them. That way we make sure we've got a good list of ideas before we start narrowing down. So as we go through this process over the next 4 meetings, make sure you're keeping these rules in the back of your mind. Of course, we will do our best to keep them at the forefront of your mind as we're going through the activity. So I think that is pretty much where we're heading. John, I'm wondering if you might take a second to just introduce yourself and also give a quick overview of the webinar interface.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. My name is John Spalding. I'm Jeremy's business partner, and I'm also a volunteer for the 99% with Jen on Bernie 2016 TV and Political Revolution TV. So thanks for being here. A quick rundown. Most of you are actually in a social webinar. What that is in your invitation underneath the dial-in number and your PIN, it says to join the webinar. Click here. And so that link where it says here will take you to the social webinar portion. And what you'll be able to do in there, you'll see the way I have, most of you see how I have the room set up, is on one side is the document that I provide a link to. The current document you're not able to edit, but when we do get to the outputs portion, you'll see when you get the link to that document, you'll be able to go and scroll through that document and add your notes and add your comments and things like that in there. And then on the right-hand side, you can see who's in your breakout session as long as they're using the Maestro social webinar portion. The other thing that I can do is I can monitor your hands being raised. So if you all want to say hi to me by pressing 1 on your phone, you can go ahead and do that. And hi, Scott. Hi, Zachariah. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for being here. Hi, Judy and Nico. Oh, Victoria, Liza, Anthony. Great job, everyone. There's like 26 total here so far. So we really appreciate you all coming in and sharing your time and being with us to work through this 4-meeting design for the Global Engagement Network. I'm going to go ahead and put your hands down now, and I will be talking with you later. Thanks, Jeremy.
Excellent. That's really exciting. And you'll notice we even have people trickling in as we're going. So, you know, just a big thank you to everybody. And what I want to do is I want to get us started in our first breakout session. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to be a little bit patient while John and I make a transition. And let me explain what's going to happen. So if you picture all of us sitting in a room together right now in the main part of the room, and what I'm going to basically do is have John move you into tables. And we're going to try to shoot for, I would say, John, let's use a 4 to 6 type of number. I think we're set for 6, and that would probably work fine. So we're going to try to use the system to break you into groups of 6. And that takes a little bit of time to do. So just sit tight for a second. We're going to break you into groups of 6. We're going to get your first activity up on the screen, and we'll put you all in a mic situation where you can hear the other people from your groups and talk to the other people from your groups. And then I'm going to come back and give instructions for the first activity. So if you wouldn't mind just sitting tight for us for just a moment. John, if you want to go ahead and start that breakout sequence and get people into their groups. And get
yep, I'm making, there's 4 groups of 5 and one group of 6, and you guys are going to be in your breakouts now.
Excellent. So we're getting that to happen. And then, John, let me know when you've got that first handout up there, and I'll go ahead and give the instructions.
So, Jeremy, the handouts are up there. What they'll want to pay attention to is the handout that we're going to be doing. It's called handout number 4, Telling Our Story. And it's actually on page 4 of the current document that's in the social webinar browser.
Excellent. So if you're not seeing that on your screen, feel free. I think they can scroll up and down. Is that right, John?
That's correct.
Excellent. All right. So you can scroll up. The thing you're going to look for, it actually at the top, as John says Telling Our Stories. And it actually says reflection time at the top, just to make sure you're on the right one. So I'm going to go ahead and give the instructions, and then we'll get you started in your first group. So listen up, folks. It is reflection time. Take a couple minutes to individually think about how you want to prepare and answer these questions. How do you want to use these questions as a way to introduce yourself to your small group? I'm going to read through the questions. Number 1, who am I and what do I do? The reasons that I care about Jen and what we are trying to do with media today is. Number 2, as I think about media in today's world and the Global Engagement Network over the past month, some of the accomplishments that make me proud are. The way I've contributed to those accomplishments is. And if this is your first exposure to Jen, that's how you contributed by coming today. So keep that in mind. Number 4, if I had a magic wand and could help the Global Engagement Network significantly transform our media for the better, I would. And number 5, what we need to accomplish together over the next 3 to 5 years with the Global Engagement Network to both ensure we succeed and make it worth my time is. So we've got 5 questions there. And what you're going to do is you're going to think about how you want to use those questions as a way to introduce yourself. And then your small group will then choose somebody to keep time, and each person's going to get 4 minutes apiece to answer all those questions in any fashion that you choose. So Aniko may go in her group. She'll take her 4 minutes. and give her answers to the questions, and then somebody else in her group might say, I'm ready, and then they'll begin, and they get 4 minutes to share. This is not a scribing activity. This is an activity where we really want you to just listen to each other, to listen to see the world through each other's eyes and each other's perspective. Each person's truth is their truth. I'm just going to make sure that make sure everybody's on breakout mics so that they can only hear the people in their groups. And John will sound the bell to get you started. If for some reason you need help, press 4 on your phone, and I'll pop into your group and see if I can do my best to help you. Again, remember, choose a timekeeper. Each person gets 4 minutes to share their answers to the questions. And make sure you're listening to see the world through each other's eyes. Each person's truth is their truth. So, John, if you want to go ahead and sound that bell, we'll get them started.
You are now in a breakout. Please begin.
So as you saw in our first clip, it was really about getting participants engaged in the technology, letting them know where we were going overall, and a specific welcome from the leadership, kind of talking about what we're doing with this process. Now participants have broken into small groups, and as you saw in the video, they're going to be discussing some questions around helping them gain a better, more full connection with each other as participants. And then each group will have an opportunity to discuss what their smaller groups had in common with each other, what was unique to 1 or 2 people within their small group, and really, as a small group, what do they want to accomplish over the next 3 to 5 years with Jen? So we take you now, in our next video clip, to the report back of that conversation and kind of the rounding out of the meeting, talking about what's going to be happening next and some of people's reflections.
Please bring your conversation to a close. This breakout session is now ending.
All right, folks, thank you so much for all of your hard work tonight. You guys have done a great job. What I want you to picture again is everybody's at their tables, and so we're going to have a spokesperson from each table, or in our case, each virtual group, report out to the whole. And so John is going to make the following people on public mic so that you're able to hear them when they're talking, and that's Alice from group number 2. Dan is going to talk from the next group. Laura is going to be talking for her group. Allison is going to be talking for her group. And Aniko, you'll be talking for your group. So all of the 5 of you are going to be on public mics. That means don't say things that you don't want other people to hear right now. What we're going to do is we're going to report out on this activity. We'll start with the first question to our spokespeople. And we'll ask you each to kind of popcorn out all the different things that we talked about. And so, but what we're going to do is we're going to report this out. So be looking at the Google document. You guys who are not reporting out, you can still follow along by looking at the Google document and seeing what other groups have done. Alice, give us one thing from your group that was a common theme. One thing from the common theme section.
We all thought there was a need for the media to allow working people, normal people, average people to have a voice. And we thought that wasn't happening now.
Excellent. Good. Dan, a common theme from your group?
Very similar deal. Everyone agrees that we're seeing fabrications coming out of the corporate media. It's a major, major issue in human civilization right now, a big problem.
Gotcha. Excellent. Very good. Laura, talk with me. What are you thinking?
Ours were a little more personal. I think what we kind of the thing in common in our group is we are all pretty hard hit by the economy and have a lot of concerns about where our nation is going economically.
Okay. And Allison, give us one thing from your group that you guys had in common.
Well, we were all interested in keeping going and reflecting, harnessing basically the energy from the movement, social movements, particularly what's come up recently with Bernie. And we want to keep propelling it forward with the work that we do.
Good. Aniko, give me a common theme from your group.
We were all sick of the propaganda, and we want honest news, and we share similar vision to Bernie on the issues. We're all interested in making this profitable and something that we can do full-time with our lives.
Excellent. Laura, give me another common theme from the first question.
A lot of, again, this is a kind of a common theme here, is things like debilitating medical payments, just getting student loans, Wall Street shenanigans causing us to lose houses. Again, we bitched about that a lot.
It's all right. It's good. Sometimes you've got to have those conversations where you can get to that bigger picture, so it's good. Alice, give me one more common theme from your group.
We had a couple of people cite the show that we have on right now called We the People as a good example of a template for future shows, and kind of a vibe that we all really liked and wanted to see more of.
Great. Dan, one more common theme from your group.
We're here to get involved and take some action in life and in this engagement broadcasting and what it represents.
Okay. Allison, one more common theme from your group?
Well, we all are interested in having better communication, both within our network and also between what we do and the end user, the viewers who are also participating. So better communication all around.
Excellent. Good. Aniko, one more common theme from your group.
I basically said all three at once, but when I kind of skipped over was we share the same vision as Bernie on the issues, and we want to continue and expand beyond politics and do other kinds of shows as well. You're breaking up.
Oh, my apologies. I've got like a dead zone right at my desk. We look at commonalities because it's a way for us to start that conversation, to really look at where are the common places that we can start. Are there any other burning common themes from your group that you guys have to mention that we haven't heard yet? Okay, hearing none, then what I'd ask my spokespeople to do is let's move into unique differences, because the unique differences really tell us if there are certain issues that we need to really keep in the process as we're moving forward. So commonalities are great and we can move forward on those, but uniquenesses really help us focus in making sure that we're not forgetting something really crucial. So let's start with you, Aniko, this time. Aniko, what was one unique difference that was captured? So this is question number 2.
One was getting on a platform, for example, Roku, to spread our message outside of our community here.
Beautiful. Those are awesome. I love when we get the unique ideas because that's how we can really get that edge. Allison, what's a unique difference that come out of your group?
We're talking about actual content for the smaller demographic. And interested in new shows and programming, and diversity of programming.
Still can't hear you if you're talking, Jeremy.
Laura, what's a unique difference for your group?
Okay. So from the old people's table, which I just realized that that's what we were, so one of the interesting things we noted is the difference in our familiarity with Bernie and his message, the Democratic Socialist agenda. That it was something that was very new to me. I've only been very engaged with it for about 6 months. John Ellis has been just over a year. Cynthia has followed Bernie for years, and Mitchell says he's followed Bernie for at least 10 years and on his various programs that he's been on and regular radio shows. So that was that was our little unique thing, is our different levels of experience with these politics.
Excellent. Thanks, Laura. Dan, over to you next. A unique difference?
Yeah, we had a bit of a hard time identifying, actually, since we didn't take notes while people were talking. But people have different sort of skills and interests. Like, we got couple folks that are just would be really interested in helping produce shows, and somebody's got the equipment that, who pointed out this is kind of a, hopefully it'll be a learning experience and people will be really learning their skills because, we can't just, leave it to the professionals who aren't doing their jobs right now.
Excellent. And Alice, what's a unique difference from your group?
We had somebody bring up a concern about possible corruption in Gen as it grows in the future, and how it was, hoped that it would stay, bottom up instead of top down. Hopefully I described that okay, Anthony.
Well, and I appreciate that being brought up because that, I think that one of the things that I have seen even from a consultant standpoint as I'm watching this organization go through this process is this really intentional thing of how do we structure ourselves so that we can have that leadership and accountability while also at the same time creating this grassroots engagement structure. And I think this summit is a part of that process and really trying to be very careful that it's not just 10 people who are saying this is what we're going to do, but it really is working to engage all the community in that conversation. And so I'm really glad that your group chose to report that out because I dropped in when you were having that conversation, Alice. And I think that it's something to keep in mind, that this organization is really trying to balance that and to balance it effectively. And so as we're developing a strategic plan for it, if you feel that there are people missing from today's conversation, feel free to still engage them in future conversations so that we can get that input and we can really help maintain that grassroots approach. Is there any other unique differences that any of the five of you would want to report out before I move to the last question?
Well, we had also the question of making sure that our sources and our content is verified and to make sure that we are not repeating some of the same mistakes that we see in corporate media, such as the top-down structure and also not spreading propaganda. Like, not that we would do that on purpose, but just that's where it comes in to verify our sources and our content.
Right. Just to make sure. That was Allison, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks so much, Allison. I appreciate that. Any other burning, unique differences from any of the groups?
We have one more. This is Alice. We had one person mention how important it was that Gen facilitate connections and partnerships between different groups of activists and really get immersed in the landscape of those groups and help build coalitions.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, thanks, Alice. Any other unique differences before I move on? All right, well, let's dive right into it then. So remember, guys, I said we were popcorning, right? And popcorn, as it pops, gets faster and faster. So the five of you, you got to be ready because we're going to debrief that last question. The question was, what do we need to accomplish in order to make it worth our time and for Gen to succeed? So Alice, one accomplishment with enthusiasm.
To move beyond the election, get beyond Bernie's campaign, and move on to more of an issue focus.
Excellent. Great, Alice. Dan, an accomplishment from your group? What do we need to accomplish?
We're really fired up and in pretty strong agreement, although I'm not sure how strongly I agree, although I don't disagree. But yeah, that it's really important to develop good content, first and foremost, grow the audience, and really work on professionalism. Just, actually have these shows that there have been some shows that have come on, but really make those shows happen and just really make, the real content that is going to inspire people to become motivated and take back control.
Great. Aniko, one more accomplishment. Aniko, what do we need to accomplish to make it worth our time?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. how to function with integrity in the commercial market and being unique while not losing our central goal.
Good. Allison, something we need to accomplish from your group?
I think it was brought up to clarify the gen structure, the internal organizational structure, and the purpose and the function of what we're doing, and have that public so that we can all refer to it and refer others to it.
I'm glad you said that, because that is the goal with these meetings. So excellent, Allison. I'm loving it. Laura, coming over to you. Give me something your group really needs us to accomplish over the next 3 to 5 years.
Nonprofit LLC status and a business plan.
I have to tell you that doesn't shock me at all based on who was in your group, and I love that. You guys brought it out. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. Alice, do you have any other accomplishments? I'm sure you do, that you'd like to list, things we need to accomplish.
We have one more. We all thought that educating people was a real priority, and facilitating education and information sharing, not just stoking the fires of activism and getting people, like energized, but we also wanted to be able to present information in sort of a not less animated, but a more like structured way, if that makes sense.
Excellent. Thanks, Alice. Dan, another accomplishment from your group?
Get the show rolling. Let's make it happen.
All right, good. Let's pop over to Laura. Any other accomplishments you want to put out there?
Well, a fundraising and income strategy and advertising and promotion strategy, which both go back to the business plan.
Excellent. All right. Aniko, anything else to add? Things we need to accomplish?
To remain current and to counter mainstream media, to target peak hours, get our search relevancy up, expand outside of politics, and make it profitable.
Right on.
Okay. Allison, anything else from your group?
Well, to settle on the details of what's being called the business model, are we trying to get nonprofit status? How is that going to work? And also, how are we going to be organized within the structures? Such as, are we building like a media co-op, like an owner, workers as contributors and owners? Are we working on more horizontalism within our structure, or is it going to be more of a vertical basis?
Nice, Allison. Really great discussions coming out of that group. Anybody else have anything that we haven't shared yet? Burning things we need to accomplish. Feel the burn and share those burning things we need to accomplish from our speakers.
Just make it the go-to place for news. Get people's eyeballs. Get them first. Have really fresh content. That's the burning build we need to do.
Okay. Alice and Dan, anything else from your group? I don't think so. I'm just checking.
We're good. I'm good.
Good here.
Okay. Go ahead, Allison. Aniko, sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Allison, did you have anything else?
One thing that did come up was how do we reach out to more end users, like maybe the people who rely on corporate media now. And there was a question of how do we make ourselves more accessible to those who may not have grown up with this technology or been immersed in it and so long as we have, or some of the other users have. And how do we just make that easy to use, accessible, and friendly toward a broader audience?
That is an excellent thing to end on, actually. And so if we were in person, I would ask you all to please give these guys a round of applause. And though they may not be able to hear you right now, I still hope that you send them some applause or maybe some different things in the chat room saying nice job, because speaking for your group is not something that's easy. And of course we've got all these raw outputs, and so we're going to hold on to those while John is actually bringing up our next piece, which is the second page of our agenda, John, which has the outline of our additional 3 meetings of where we're going. So John, once that's up on there, let me know. We're going to start moving toward closing out today's session. We always try to keep the first session of this, folks, a little bit less intensive for you guys, because part of it is getting used to that technology. And so we did want to at least have some connectivity around where we're heading. And I think that even some of the conversations that we've had tonight is going to be really helpful to our design team as they're really moving us into meeting 2. In the meantime, we do want to give people the opportunity, if they'd like to give any reflections from today, then you can press 1 on your phone if you've got a quick reflection from today, and we'll come to you in just a moment to allow you to share that reflection from the group. We want it to be brief. We're not talking 3 minutes. We're talking more of a 15 to 30-second reflection. And again, if you've got a reflection from today, you can press 1 on your phone. And if you would like to share something that's exciting you about what's coming up at our next meeting, or even this process, you can press 2 on your phone. So if you have a reflection from today, you can press 1 on your phone if you'd like to share that with the group. You don't have to. You can also press 2 on your phone if you have something that's exciting you about this process. I'm going to have John go through and take 2 or 3 comments from each of those areas in just a moment. So again, if you have a reflection you'd like to share from today, you can press 1. And if you have a, if you've got something that you'd like to share that's exciting you about the process, you can press 2. John, were we able to get that hand up on the screen or no? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly talk about our next 3 meetings, and you can find all of this information where all of you registered. And then I'll be asking John to take a couple comments from the number 1 category for those of you who have pressed 1 on your phone, and from the number 2 category. What we're going to be doing in our next meeting is, again, hearing from John Ellis, who really is the creator of this concept, and we want to give him an opportunity to talk about where we could go and how this could work, and really kind of help you guys start to think very visionary about it. Toward the end of meeting 2, we'll give you the opportunity to give feedback on a draft strategic plan for the organization. And then we'll prioritize that feedback before we get to meeting 3. And meeting 3 will be about creating those specific and prioritized action plans that we need to succeed. So this is where we get into ensuring that we've got the how-to in place in order to execute our strategy. And number 4, for especially the group, I think it was your group, Allison, that was really diving into what's the structural piece look like. That is going to be the conversation that we have in meeting 4. And so the concept is we create the high-level strategy. We make sure we've got action plans to make that happen. And then we really take a step back and we say, how do we structurally put something in place that's going to allow us to embrace our grassroots value and that grassroots-driven type of organization in our work? And what's the structure that we need to make that happen? So that's what's going to be happening over the next 3 meetings. On behalf of Jen and the design team that has been putting this together, I really want to encourage you guys to come back to those and to continue to participate in this process. And if you think that other people need to be engaged, they'll be able to go listen to today's meeting and can plug right into meeting number 2. So we will be coming back for that. John, do we have anybody who has pressed number 1 on their phone and would like to weigh in with a quick something that they are reflecting on from today's discussion?
Yes, we do, Jeremy, and I apologize to you for being on mute. And people did get to see that handout that you were referencing, and they're ready to go. Good. So Aniko has raised her hand. She'll be up, and then Scott Galindez, you're on deck.
Excellent. So Aniko, give us really quick a reflection you're having from today's conversation.
The fact that it was so nice to meet people on an individual basis. In the breakout groups, we had interesting commonalities, and getting that feedback from each perspective directly was really interesting for me.
Awesome. And Scott, we're going to come to you next. John, do we have anybody else we want to go to on this side? Or?
Yeah, Zachariah has raised his hand as a 2, so we'll come to him next after Scott.
All right, thanks. So Scott, a quick reflection from today?
Well, I had one, but something else that I think is important. It brought up early as possible. I think that Sunday, July 24th, is a huge mistake to try to do it that day. That's the day of national elections around the country, and the march in Philadelphia with the Sanders campaign having a rally in the park in Philadelphia. It's for 7 to 9. I know I might not even be back from the field, and other people are going to be exhausted, I think.
Okay. So, Scott, I'm going to table that for just a second while we take the other reflections, and then I'll do a quick poll just to see if I've got a lot of agreement on that, and maybe we make some changes there, okay? So thank you for voicing that with us. I appreciate that. Let me come over to our number 2s. Now, you guys are talking about things that excite you that's coming up. I think, John, where were we heading next? I'm sorry.
Zachariah?
Yes, Zachariah. So, Zachariah, what's exciting you about coming up? You are unmuted.
Yeah, what excites me is, it's actually a reflection too, is the amount of cohesion that we've had in this process already, and how much we actually agree on as a group, and what we've all mentioned. And I feel like this process is kind of revolutionary, so that's pretty exciting.
Excellent. Zachariah, I'm so glad you said that. John, do I have anybody else who wants to weigh in with the comments before I do a quick vote?
Alice is next. Alice, and then we have Scott Smith.
Okay, so we'll do Alice and Scott, and then I'm going to poll you guys on the other Scott's concerns. So, Alice, what's exciting you about coming up?
This is actually, it's kind of both, I guess. I was really hoping, and I said this in one of our internal meetings, that there would be some new people who weren't, just the usual suspects, because, that those opinions are just so valuable and so, not always heard by us. And we had 2 people that I didn't know in my group, and I just want to thank them and anyone for whom this is the first engagement that you've had with Jen other than watching the shows. Thank you guys so much for being here.
That's an amazing comment. I couldn't have planned it that better. Thank you, Alice. No, it's totally true, and it's so interesting, I think, from a leadership perspective. When you bring new people into that conversation, you really do get a very full breadth of what you're needing to look at. Scott, final reflection, or what's exciting?
And then Dan, Jeremy. Scott, and then
Scott,
Dan.
And then Dan. All right.
Yep.
Hi, thanks. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
You guys hear me? I've been involved with a couple different groups with similar objectives, not necessarily a broadcast network, but trying to get content out for Bernie in the past year. And you guys tonight are far and away the most organized, professional, have your shit together group of people that I've floated around with, and it's very refreshing. So kudos to everybody putting this together.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. Well, tell your friends they're welcome too. Dan, I think Dan's going to get our final reflection.
Just wanted to give my reflection about something that on this team is, I'm not sure that I think most people would probably agree. I hope John Ellis agrees. But I think it's a no-brainer that that this whole technology should embrace the free usage, open source type of model. And we're not talking just software or hardware. I mean, we're talking also hardware and software. And I mean, this is to embrace a whole ecosystem of people that care about having control over technology. And there's so I just think it's almost a necessity for that. I mean, it's we need to join the open source free usage software movement and just be a model for what that can be in the world with media.
Excellent, Dan. So that's something we'll want to keep in mind as we're talking through our strategic planning and so forth, and I appreciate you sharing that as well. All right. I need to move us to close because even though we may have started late, I'm always make a guarantee to get you guys out of here on time. Before I do that, I do want to check in on Scott's concern. And so if you feel we should proceed with the July 24th call and not look at rescheduling that call, so again, this is a vote to proceed with that call, I want you to press 1 on your phone. And if you feel we need to reschedule that call or look into other alternatives of how we do that, this is the July 24th one right before the convention, I want you to press a 2 on your phone. So just to be clear, if you think we should still do it on July 24th, you press 1. If you think we need to reconsider that approach and move it, press 2. I'm going to ask that everybody make a choice. I know some of you may not care. Just care for me for 10 seconds so I can see where you're at. So, John, I don't know if you want to look at the hands for me and just kind of give an eyeball of where we're at.
Yeah, no, I can do that. I'm looking at the hands. I see them, and they're coming in. Now, the third meeting, that's interesting because I think the third meeting was the one that I thought that we would actually do as a live broadcast and find a way to make it interactive for everyone there and include Philly, but I see the hands are coming in, and so it's 16 to 4 right now as a 2, meaning reschedule. So.
Okay. And you know what? I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think we had in our head at the design team level, let's take advantage of that opportunity. And if I've got 16 of you saying, you know what, reconsider that, I'm going to listen to you as a group. And I'm hoping that because I, as a facilitator and as the person who's helping your design team, I'm going to listen to you guys, I hope that that also makes you want to come back to meeting number 2. So here's the deal. John's going to place a link into our chat, and he'll also make sure it's in the document where you can access it for you to take an evaluation of how tonight's call went. We'd love for you to do that as quickly as we can, and we'll follow up with you, just kind of thanking the people who were able to join us tonight, and we will still hold that second meeting when it's scheduled. We'll look at how we reschedule the third and fourth meetings so that we are being respectful of your desires as a group. And, you know, don't hesitate to give us the feedback and the evaluation. We want to make sure this is a great process for you guys. We want to make sure that it's something that you feel is worth your time. So if there are things we can be doing to make that happen, great. Let us know. I think you guys have had some seriously awesome dialogue, and I really appreciate you taking time on a Sunday night. I know the leadership of Jen appreciates you taking time on a Sunday night to contribute to where they're heading. And this is yours. It's really something that you guys are going to build together. And so I want to encourage you, if you see someone that wasn't here tonight and they're not registered, get them registered. We'll have all the materials available online so they can plug right into that second meeting. And let's really come together as a community who can drive Jen to the next level. And so this is going to conclude tonight's call. We'll pick this back up at our second scheduled call. And I'm so sorry my computer just crashed, but I think that is July 10th is when it
July 10th, yep.
Thank you, John. I'm so sorry. July 10th. And if you want to stay after to help us with the debriefing of tonight's call, you're welcome to do that as well. But for now, this concludes the more summit part of our call, and I just thank you all so much for your time. So please make sure you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again on July 10th. Same time, same place, and even same call-in numbers. So thank you so much, and have a great night.
So as you just heard, people got the opportunity to hear what had happened in their small groups. We heard a lot of common themes around how we can take Jen to the next level and what needs to be there in that conversation in order to make that happen. So next in our meeting series on July 10th, we'll be moving more toward the strategy for Jen and really setting that vision for the organization. You are absolutely encouraged to still register and join us, and we hope that you'll participate in the next conversation. Please check out the registration link in the description of our video, and we hope that your voice becomes part of that conversation on July 10th. Thanks so much.